safely. So you really see that happen a lot with Thorns.
Yeah. Whole lot of utility potential, especially with his Barbed Husk, because Barbed Husk can absolutely change the game in a prime moment. As far as other champions that we've seen picked, again, I'd like for you to catch me up to date last week. I know I did watch. Don't get me wrong, but you were here.
I was here.
You were
I was doing it.
You lived it.
I'm the Rock.
You are the Rock, and you lived it in the
desk.
flesh. So we're going to be getting into our pick phase very shortly. Remember, there is no banning. It is just alternating blind, simple draft picks. So they pick the first one blindly and then reveal it together. Same thing with the second and third pick. I'm not going to get into it. I got into it plenty in the first week, and I'm assuming Dreadnought did his job, which I know he's great at his job, and I know he did it last week too. I'm done with it. That's the last thing you're getting out of me.
So we see the Ulrich out of SSG. That makes a lot of sense.
Ulrich
likes
both.
That character.
Yeah, Ulrich and Thorn, sorry.
Ulrich and Thorn. Yeah, the Thorn makes sense. When Trees played so well last week, I expect to see no other character. I expect to see an Alicia as well for Entropy. We might see a Jade from the hero, as he's very good at Jade. But she's not so good into Space Station gaming as Averse can play Taya. And Jade into Taya is just miserable. You don't want to play that matchup. It's hard to hit all skill shots on a hasted character.
Yeah.
And Taya's like always hasted.
Hard, nearly impossible, especially when it's Averse that's behind that keyboard.
Oh, very cool. So I like to see this Destiny pick. This is going to be really interesting. I'm not sure how good it's going to be against SSG, but it's something out of the ordinary. And I like how they're kind of reaching out into the nether realms of Battlerite, picking up this new and interesting character.
I have always loved Destiny for her kit, and I know that in the beginning she was super strong, had some of the best burst damage in the game. They toned that down a little bit, and we haven't seen her nearly as much pretty much since that patch.
Yeah, her damage was dumb back in the day.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb. I'll be the first to admit. But I love her kit. I love the utility that she has between her EXM1, her EXE, all the unique stuff that she can do. And I'm excited to see what they do with her character, just because she has some really cool stuff she can do. But rarely do we see people use it to a full potential. And against Ulrich Thorn, I mean, EXE could be pretty strong.
I'm very interested to see what Entropy picks for the support role. Last week we saw a lot of Pestilus. If In-Flame broke out the Pestilus again, that would be very interesting. It's the older. Okay. The older and the Taya. So this Taya makes sense. It's a verse. You pick Taya.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, not too surprised, but it's interesting to see Proster on the Thorn instead of the Shifu. I know as a player, Proster has not really enjoyed playing Thorn ever since his big slew of nerfs, which in my opinion were very much warranted. But anyways, so he doesn't play quite the same, and he's not quite as empowered. So he's a little bit harder now, so it'll be interesting to see if Proster looks as good on him as he did in the past. Also, this older pick, I'm very interested to see how this works out. Of course, last week I went on many monologues about how you need to pick a character with self-sustain with an older. I'm interested to see whether or not the Thorn has enough self-sustain to make the damage output of Space Station Gaming not override the amount of healing older can put out. So a couple interesting things to look out for this match.
And I think also depends if Destiny and Thorn can stick together, and Destiny, if she finds herself to be a spam EXM1er, which she's constantly building shields on her and Thorn.
Yeah, great
Thorn also rotating his Barbed Husk between the two of them, depending on which one's getting channeled. Yeah. There's a chance they could actually still do a good job while Older does what Older does best, and it pretty much be a ranged carry.
Yeah, there's some cute setups too with the Thorn and the Older. Of course, Quicksand, the E of Older, really good off of petrified targets, and entangling roots from Thorn, basically a petrify. So you got some nice team setup here. Of course, the M2 from the hero also off the entangling roots. So there's just a lot of value this Thorn can get this game.
And just to speak a little bit to how strong Older can be damage-wise, when we were looking at stats from week 1, you know, Jita was playing Older in a double support composition. He had the most damage percentage on his team.
Which is silly.
He dealt the most damage on his team as Older, just to show you what he can do. And a lot of it has to do with lining, you know, the potential double or the recast on your E up twice with your allies helping with rooting them, plus your ultimate M1s, EXM1s. There's a lot of things that usually your teammates help you set up, but still, Older can deal so much damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to take a second to point out the battle rights of the Older, this has kind of become the standard build. He has the 2 M1 rights, one of which lessens the healing that a target with Sands of Time will take from his allies. And also, one makes Time Bomb AoE and has it deal 2 more damage, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 10 damage over the course of a match being applied consistently by M1s really adds up quickly. So I really like these 2 battle rights. Of course, another thing that's popped up with Older lately is his shield off of his space. There's a battle right that when you space over an ally, it grants you a barrier and an ally a barrier for 3 seconds. And that Battlerite is incredibly strong when you take into account the last Battlerite choice, the cooldown reduction on space with the shield hit. So if your shield's hit, you have more spaces, and you have more ways to apply shields onto allies. So Older's kind of become this weird, like, shield spammy character.
Now we'll see the opening of this match, Space Station and Entropy. First Destiny we've seen in quite some time. I'm excited to see how your hero pulls in. Some Thorn on Thorn. Here comes Ulrich now. Finding Hero, no counter hit. It cancels immediately. But the entangle onto Taya keeps her at bay for quite some time. But look at the damage onto Inflamed right now. He needs to heal up himself. They're trying to regroup. And right now, Space Station has mid control. They do just barely.
Oh, yeah, and the dead roots too. That's pretty big carpet. That's going to force a lot of outs, and now Entropy has to play on the back foot here.
There's the barb toss, but then just going to turn right into Inflamed. He spaces out. The Chronoflux is down. There's the lift and the entangle onto your hero. Oh, just couldn't get this done onto a verse. And we're going to see Thorn go down. That was quite the struggle right there for Entropy. Space Station had control from the first second to the last.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw it from the beginning. We saw Space Station Gaming just sprint in, Prosser on that Thorn with the wind bomb of Taya. Taya, of course, having the Battlerite that when she places the wind bomb down, if an ally runs through it, they get haste. Prosser with that haste just ran straight into Entropy, and they had nowhere to go. Entropy never even made it into the center of the map carpet.
And look at the escapes from Entropy. Not a lot.
No.
You've got an older space, you've got a Thorn space, and then you've got not even a real iframe from Destiny. You've got to roll around and try and get out of there. So overall, if they can just force even one out, which is exactly what Proster's ultimate did, force them all to kind of use their one out, that's it. From there, it's just collapse.
Yeah, and this Thorn matchup is incredibly good into Destiny. I have feel bad for the hero here, as he doesn't really have a way to get out of that dead roots if there's no roll for him.
Pull onto Proster, gets him in. He's just going to stay in. Barb House comes out to negate some damage. Destiny's struggling. She wants to get damage with the Megasphere, but she does not. Ulrich just supporting. Look at this, spacing back and forth. Taya's going to easily secure the orb for his teammates.
Yeah.
And Destiny's not going to be able to hit her with anything.
Yeah, Verse just playing the objective game, and now he comes back to assist his team. And even without him, they were destroying. This dead roots is just blowing up the Destiny, just like I talked about. He has no way out of that, especially with an older as your support. There's no portal. It's not Xander. There's no barrier. It's not Lucy. At the end of the day, you're just an older, and you can't get your Destiny out of that dead roots.
Entropy is really struggling right now to get any kind of momentum on their side. They don't have a lot of mid control. They don't have a lot of engage. I mean, there's not a lot of options for them even from the first second. What are they supposed to do? Yeah,
absolutely. And it gets intimidating. When a team as good as SSG just runs at you and you know it's Proster on that Thorn, a little bit of that gets in your head, like undoubtedly. And it's very hard for them as they kind of just get pushed back because once Thorn goes in, once Proster makes that initiation, it really frees up a Verse to do whatever he wants. And when there's a Taya getting away with whatever she wants, you're going to have a really hard time.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for Trees to start focusing down this Taya and try to slow down the roll of a Verse just a little bit.
I mean, all Proster has to do is go in, spacebar in, and then even if he just uses it to E to make somebody use their escape, there's a target. Now we know. Cool. Older just spaced away from my entangle, get him. Or I hit Older with my entangle, get everybody else.
You're absolutely right.
This time, they didn't push so hard early on.
Yeah, really great start for SSG as they got an entangling roots into X-Strike, and now Verse, he has that bar of energy, so he's going to play a little bit aggressive here. But like I mentioned, Trees is finally getting on him, and a Verse is already down to half carpet.
The entangle onto Proster, and
wow,
the orb as well. Trees doing
play.
A great job to his team right now. Older's pretty much at full health. Proster behind him is trying to entangle, keep him away from his melee champion. Trees has an ultimate. I don't know if they know that. Nearly taking down Taya.
Ooh,
there comes one.
No value, though. Unfortunate.
Older Chronoflux in to push himself just a little bit further away. He's got an ult as well. Another orb for blue team. The Older ult's away. The entangle onto one. Ulrich's going to actually be looking at a dangerous spot right now. There goes Bloom. He's so low. There's the ultimate. But the tornado is going to save him. They're not going to find a lot of value.
Oh, he's fishing.
Oh, almost got him with it. But now the hero's so far away.
Yep, the downside of that pinball is it puts you so incredibly far away from your allies, and this is not the pinball of last patch. The damage output on it is significantly lower than it used to be, and because of that, he wasn't even able to find the kill on Bloom. The hero, he went all in there, and he got nothing.
He really didn't. I mean, as far as how the Destiny's playing right now, I mean, I'm not a big fan of using her ultimate because it's just, you can find crazy value, but it is such a difficult thing to do,
yeah,
and
I'm
just not good enough, to be honest, probably. But not a lot of EXM1s from her, and it's just because maybe she's not finding that line of sight to her allies, or even just like shooting an enemy with it can just keep you from taking damage. We haven't heard it a lot, and generally we see them spam that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's tricky. On the flip side, though, Entropy had a much better starter as Trees kind of manhandled the Verse early on.
Yeah.
We'll see if Trees is able to repeat that. I think it's a big sign of success.
We got a big M2 from Destiny onto Taya right off the bat.
Trees rotates back to try to help out his allies a little bit, but you know, this creates the problem that we talked about earlier. Now Taya, she has those 2 bars of energy, and she's going to be able to play very aggressively off this orb take.
There's the pull. Now she has no choice but to play aggressively. Getting pulled in, that's a tornado out. But that means there's no tornado for friends. Thorn's in a risky, but no, he's not in a risky spot at all. No counter's going to get hit. The Chronoflex accidental anti-synergy.
Oh man, the pressure here from Averse as he severs in, going to enable them to find the kill on the hero, and he has nowhere to go.
They have a couple of spurts where it looks like they might be able to deal some damage, but they just can't do it consistently and continuously. Another ultimate, but he's going to go for the orb instead.
Oh, Averse!
Lose it.
Averse is like, nah, that's my orb. Cute try, but I'm taking that.
Using the Zephyr to secure it. And I've always been baffled by this. Every time I watch Averse play with anybody, it's almost like his 2 players that are with him on his team, which is threes. Surprise, guys, we're playing threes Battlerite.
Whoa, amazing.
His 2 teammates are like, all right, we'll meet up eventually, probably when we're killing somebody. Yeah. And Averse is just so good at holding his own, especially with champions that have no self-sustain.
Yep.
He's so good at staying just out of range, and also just in range for himself, just barely getting them with the tip of his M1s, always making connection on that, doing enough damage and pressure from a distance with his stuns, helping with his tornadoes, even with Taya especially, that he's able to just do whatever he wants. No one has to think about him. His teammates don't even have to worry about it.
He already has that first bar of energy too off of a nice X-Strike. Trees, he's got chunked a little bit, losing some true HP already, and this is really not an ideal start for Entropy.
Barbed Husk is out, which means they're not going to target him for quite some time. He cancels it a little bit early. The Megasphere's out, but the Barbed Husk.
They actually get some really good damage onto Averse off the back of that, but I think a lot more has been done to the older, and Spacestation gets the orb. It looks like they might just pull ahead here.
Yeah, I did really like that EXE that we saw come
Trees
out of the hero, but it wasn't enough.
Trees getting chopped right here.
Oh, the Barbed Husk kill. Don't see that very often.
That's some tree-on-tree kills.
Some would say, no, I actually don't have a pun for it. I was gonna. I couldn't think of anything.
Oh, you tried your best. As did Entropy, but they're going to go down 0-5. And SSG, after their last couple weeks where they lost against Youngsung, they're showing to us that they're not out of it just yet. And I'd really like to touch on what you talked about at the end of round 4 a little bit more. Averse, he generally plays the 1v2 situation kind of like the melee does for most comps. SSG kind of splits up a little bit differently. A lot of the time you'll see the healer and the ranged players sit together, but Bloom spends a lot of time with Proster. He spends a lot of time committed to helping him out, which really frees up Averse. Since all of the pressure being put out by both of those melee characters, as we saw the Ulrich and the Thorn, it just puts out so much that you have to focus so much resources on it that Averse can do whatever he wants. And that's really why we saw him be successful, because Averse just had all the space in the world off the back of the aggression of Bloom and Proster.
And this touches on the primal difference between melee and range. Now, I'm a melee main, so I can obviously speak a lot more to that. But the biggest difference is that when you're melee and you want to find value, you're going to take damage. There's no way around that. You're going to take around it. There's no way around it, guys. It's cute, just like myself.
Just like you, yeah.
You are going to take the damage, and you have to just be aware, is this worth the trade? Am I going to deal more damage than take? Do I have support to make sure I don't take any max health? Or do I have shields to help negate? And then when you're ranged, it's just mostly thinking, when can I make the most out of my abilities?
Yeah.
You're not really, I mean, obviously, your knowledge is a lot more keeping the right distance, keeping your right line of sights, and always being able to support your teammates. But it really just shows the major difference. And Proster going in, having Bloom as support, it lets Proster do what he does without the fear that melees always have to think about.
Damage.
And then with range, they don't have to worry about the damage. So Taya, or Averse, is just doing whatever he wants. Checking out a couple of replays there, you can just see absolute domination. Spacestation Gaming 5-0.
Yeah, they are here to play. And, you know, after losing their matches, like I mentioned, I wouldn't be too happy if I were them either.
Yeah.
They have to fight for the second seed when everybody expected them to be first. So they got to really put on their serious pants and give it a go. But, yeah, they played really well, and it's cool to see them back in form. They have one more match later today against XL Wizards. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
And remember, talking about Spacestation Gaming, if they win their next one, even if they are tied with their counterparts up in first place, Youngsung. It doesn't matter because Youngsung has them on the head-to-head. They beat them 2-0 the 2 times they went up against each other. So no matter what, Youngsung is #1 seed. So essentially, they're just the upsets right now. Can they put themselves even further ahead, or are they kind of potentially give up losses and give wins to teams that truly, truly need it?
Yeah, and on the other side, if they lose to XL Wizards, that puts Entropy in 4th place, which means they'll have to face off in the relegation match against the lowest seed in Group B, which is not a place they want to be. So if you're a fan of Entropy, you better be rooting for SSG right now.
Yeah, so next match is going to be XL Wizards up against